I spent 6 months in Brazil last year, mostly Rio, thinking I'd reconnect with my roots. I was born there, I speak the language, I left when I was 14. I thought going back would feel like coming back home, but it didn't. I've been back many times since, but this was the first time I was going back to spend a good amount of time, the most I've spent since I left. The longer I'd stayed, the more I felt like I'm too American for Brazilians and too Brazilian for Americans. Spent years trying to fit into scenes that weren't built for me. This is what happened when I stopped trying to belong anywhere and why that turned out to be freedom. Let's get into it. I went to Brazil late October and stayed till about May. I did a little traveling within Brazil, but mostly stayed in Rio. I thought it would change something. I thought I'd feel more Brazilian again, that the music would hit different. The streets would feel familiar and people would get me. And at first it did feel like that. Carnaval is incredible. The energy, the vibe, the sounds, the bodies moving. It's something you cannot find anywhere else. And that's what I came for, to remember why I fell in love with music in the first place. But then Carnaval ended and I was still there. And I started noticing things I could not unsee. I'd have conversations with people, friends, locals, people I met, and their dreams felt very different from mine. Not in a bad way, but it made me fully grasp the difference between staying in one place for most of your life and being uprooted. How we really are a product of our surroundings, and that felt very real. There weren't many examples or direct guidance as to why do something or what that could be. I care about ambition, I care about building, I don't really feel like I need a partner to feel complete. I don't really care about just hooking up with random people at parties just because it's available. And the hookup culture there is very real. And again, it's not just a Brazilian thing, no, but it's very prominent there. I felt like an outsider constantly. I'd go to parties and realize I didn't know all the pagode lyrics. And I didn't want to dance every dance. I wanted a mix of people, urban and upscale, locals and foreigners. And in Rio, those worlds don't really mix. If I wanted a Baile funk party, I had to go to certain neighborhoods. And if I went to other neighborhoods and I wanted to listen to Baile funk, it wasn't really Baile funk, it was bad American pop and hip hop records that just didn't mix. I have a different ear. I realized that as a Brazilian that grew up in America, I understand both worlds in a way that most people don't, unless you're Brazilian and left young like me. Not just any DJ from Brazil or Rio, I'll just say Rio, or maybe Brazil, could leave Brazil and come to New York and kill it in Brooklyn like I could. And that's no shade. I've heard them try and not get too far. And that's no shade. A New York DJ couldn't just go to Rio and understand what really works there. They could play a good set, definitely. But if they wanted to get deep in their Brazil bag, I'm not sure it would really hit. Maybe be decent. Just my opinion. I'm in the middle. I thought that would make me fit in better, but it didn't. It made me stand out more. I came back to New York in May. I got booked to play at Baile in Brooklyn. It was Latin night. They knew I was Brazilian. We put it on a flyer. But when I got there and started to play my sound, the Baile goes global direction I'm into now, the Baile funk edits, the techno funk, the Baile flip for club sounds, it didn't really land in the whole room. A few people got it, of course, but most of the crowd wanted reggaeton, Spanish music, the stuff that they know. Even though I'm very comfortable in playing rooms, keeping the energy high without playing the obvious records, I think every good DJ can do that. This was me doing something different, educating the crowd on a new sound. And a manager came up to me mid-set and said, maybe you want to play something that they know. So I played some edits with some other stuff layered on top of it that was interesting and they vibe with. To my surprise, in Brazil, Spanish music isn't even that big. A lot of people didn't even know who Bad Bunny was until very recently. But in New York, if you're playing for a Latin crowd, they expect reggaeton, Spanish music. And I realized the crowd that I'm playing for doesn't exist in one place. My crowd is people who left Brazil early, had a cool New York experience, went to hip hop parties, Caribbean parties, house parties, knows the culture here but still loves the sounds from there. People that understand Baile funk and where it comes from, house music, Afro music, tech. People who have a curious ear and aren't stuck in one lane. That's a very specific crowd, and that's BGG. Baile Goes Global exists for people who dare to stand alone and exist in their music tastes. People who traveled a bit, especially to Brazil, and have an ear for sounds beyond lyrics. That night at Baile, I realized I can't try and fit into the Latin scene in New York, or any scene in Brooklyn for that matter. To play what I want to play, I have to exist in my own lane. There was a day in Rio right after Carnaval ended and it all hit me. I was walking down Ipanema Beach, coming back from a workout, alone. It was cloudy, not a perfect beach day, rare. Just a regular day, slow, a few locals on the beach, people working, nothing happening. And I remember thinking, okay, what else is here now? Not in a mean way, just factually. How can I conquer the world from here? It's just not there. And that's fine for some people. It's just not good for me. Brazilians, we are very friendly, we're very humble people. But like in anywhere in the world, everybody's trying to survive. That feels very real. You start noticing your blessings, you start noticing your place there and other people there. You just start seeing things. You start seeing everything very clear. Brazilian women, very beautiful. Brazilian men, especially Rio men, Carioca men, they really believe they're God's gift to women, and it was never really giving that to me. The different ways that the women live there as opposed to different places. All of that started to really come into perspective for me. So I'm an outsider again, too American for wanting to preserve myself and having too much ambition. Not that all Americans are like that or all Brazilians are the opposite, but you know what I'm saying. Just different priorities, you know. Cariocas, people from Rio, we love to go to the beach, hang out, take it easy, have the easygoing life, just let the waves ride us out through life. And I felt too much like a foreigner to do that. I didn't relate. By December, when the opportunity to go back and do it all over again came, I just didn't feel that big desire to do it again. I can wait a little bit until I go back to Rio and do it a little bit differently. When I came back to New York, it was business as usual. Within a few weeks of putting myself back out there, I was able to get back to my work and create again. In Brazil, I tried as long as I was there to get something going, to see if I can do some type of work there, but it felt impossible. But the same could be said about any town surrounding the ocean, right? It tends to move a little slower. That experience also helped me realize that I'm in a very good place. I'm able to go there, visit, and then get out of there and have different opportunities. Go to Brazil, touch base, try things out, and when they don't work, be able to come back over here and make things work. I know some people feel like it doesn't work for people like me, but I cannot relate to that because it's been really good for me and my family. And this is not a political talk either, you know, it's just me having my own opinions, thinking with my own brain from lived experiences. I do love Brazil. I've made some really good connections there, locals and foreigners. But I understand now why a lot of us leave and why my mother chose to leave and uproot all of us and why my mom nor my sister have any desire to go back, not even to visit. I'm Brazilian, okay? I am allowed to have complicated feelings about my home. If anyone can critique it, that should be me. When I came back to New York, I felt a lot of gratitude and clarity. I don't have to belong to a scene here. I don't have to belong to Rio. I don't have to fit into anyone's box. I belong to myself, and that's more powerful than fitting in ever was. BGG exists for people who feel the same way. People who stand alone in their music taste and their decisions in life. People who've traveled, who've seen different worlds, and who refuse to shrink. Better Everyday NYC exists because I learned that belonging to yourself is more important than belonging to any scene or anyone. And that means taking care of yourself in all ways, not just physical, but your nervous system, your energy, and your standards. The bridge between my Brazil experience and my brands is this: anchoring yourself. You can't fit into spaces that weren't designed for you, so you build your own. That's what I'm doing. I'm not trying to convince anyone that Rio is bad and that America is perfect. I'm saying I went there to reconnect with my roots, and I realized I've outgrown the place where I come from. That doesn't make me better, it just makes me different. And if you've ever felt like you don't fit in your culture, in your city, in your scene, maybe you're not broken. You just haven't yet built the space where you belong in. That's what I'm doing with BGG and BNYC. And if you want to see Rio through my eyes, the real version, not the tourist fantasy, I made a guide. It's called RIO Unlocked. The link is in the bio. This is Moniki Reports. See you next week.